We are here. Week number 10 of my 52-week challenge, where I am challenging myself to learn some new skills and then share them with the world. So, welcome back to my channel. And I am LaRonda, and I am learning how to be a what I call a freshman senior. And I'm sharing my stories with you about what has come up for me as I continue to manage my life as someone who does not go in full time to a job that I did in my last career. I did for 25 years. And just learning to understand what does this new phase of my life mean. So I don't have to get up and go to work. So the other day when the time changed, I was surprised that I overslept on Monday. So the time changed Saturday night, and did my thing, whatever I do on Sunday. But then Monday, when it was time for me to get up and go to the gym, I overslept. I didn't wake up until 7:30. I'm like, wait a minute, lady, what are you doing? Then on Mondays, I have an aqua aerobics class that starts at 8. So I needed to scramble on Monday. And then Tuesday, yesterday, I do a body combat course that starts at 5:45 in the morning. Normally I'm fine. I go to sleep early, wake up, go get my workout on. I'm excited. This class is so much fun, and it really goes quickly because of the exercises and the different phases that you go through, and you don't have to use any equipment. You just use your body. But then I overslept again yesterday. So just giving you a fair warning, if you're new to the retirement game, you're new to having a schedule that you create versus someone else. I think if I had to go to work, I don't ever remember during my 25 years of working that I overslept. Because I would use an alarm for sure. But this just caught me off guard, and I just wanted to share that part. But this episode is dedicated to, or I want to talk about pivots. There's a book called the Four Agreements, the Four Pivots, something like that. And what I do is I spend a lot of time reflecting on my life, the steps and the places that I've gone through. And this week, it really hit me that I had two big pivots. And I've done a lot of things in my life that have changed. Like I've moved a lot and things like that. But here is, in 1994, I found myself separated from my husband. My son at that time was 5 years old. I was living in Oklahoma, and I needed to do something different. Man, I needed to get out of that situation because I didn't see a pathway. I didn't see joy. I didn't see, I just was stagnant. I was at a place in my life that I was like, And I'm looking at this kid, my only child at that time. And I'm like, man, I need to do something. And so I decided to move to New Jersey. And on my way, it's along how I got there and all of that, how I ended up moving. And I had owned 2 cars at the time. And, but I was on the bus. I took the Greyhound bus from Oklahoma to New Jersey. And on that ride, I decided for the first time in my life that I would go by my given name, LaRonda. Because up until that point, if you ever met me or you knew me from childhood, everybody called me Rhonda. Rhonda was who I was. And there was something about that ride and my mind, this is the way my brain works, that I knew I wanted to make a real change. And if I was going to make a real change, then change my name. And I can tell you the adventures and different experiences that I've had. I felt like a grown up. In '94, I was 31. And so, for those of you who are in, if you're young and you're watching this, and you're thinking, "Man, I'm missing out on something" or whatever. So it was that kind of feeling, like I should be doing more with my life, and I know where I want to be. I've always been, in my mind and heart, ambitious, but also I've been lost, like not really knowing how to get from point A to point Z, if you will. And it's still that way to this day, because I'm like, man, I know what I want to, what I want to accomplish. I know who I am as a person. Well, when I was living as Rhonda, I think, if you will, I think I was feeling more like my mother's child. I was feeling like a child. And I was like, man, I'm this kid's mom now, right? I've been married and I'm a full-on adult. So I should go by LaRonda. And that meant that I would have to teach people how to spell it. I would teach people how to pronounce it. I was in a pool this morning. Someone asked my name and I said LaRonda. And well, I have a standard story now, LaRonda. And they go, LaWanda, LaShonda? Nope, LaRonda. And then I sing the song, help me, Rhonda, help me, Rhonda. And then they can remember, right? Because that's a catchy little ditty. And yeah, so from 1994 to this day, I go by LaRonda. I spell it for you. The R is capitalized. There's an E, L-E, capital R. And I've even taken to joking with people who have to write it out. And I go, yes, L-E, capital R-H-O-N-D-A. Don't blame me, blame my parents. I don't know what they were thinking, but that's the name that's on my birth certificate, etc. And I remember when I was in high school and I had a college guidance counselor who challenged the spelling of my name. I've told that story many times. It's like, lady, I'm 18 years old. I know how to spell my name. There's a lot of things I don't know still to this day. But spelling that name, seeing it on my birth certificate, LaRonda. Who is LaRonda versus who was Rhonda? And as I've gone through these past few years of learning how to be a senior citizen, I am very comfortable going back and thinking about LaRonda when she was a child, right? When she was called Rhonda, but never really quite feeling like she fit. When I was growing up in Detroit, when everybody called me Rhonda, two of my good friends, my neighbors, both girls, their names were Kim. So if you can imagine being 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, when these girls' names were Kim, why was my name Rhonda? That alone, we weren't even going to talk about doing LaRonda. But I can remember having that kind of challenge with my name and then making the choice and being so proud of myself as I walk through life right now. And when I got married, my last name changed or whatever, but that LaRonda has stuck with me. And then the other pivot, change, shift in the way I started walking through the world came last year. I'm 62 years old. And I had a friend of mine that I was talking about an insecurity that I have. I was being vulnerable with her. And I said, nope, I don't really, or I will always, if there's someone that I'm interested in, I will always immediately talk about the burns that are on my body. So when I was 2 years old, speaking of little LaRonda, I was burned in a house fire. And I have, you can't even hardly see it. It's so funny. Like, you can't hardly see it on this camera. And I have two scars on both of my legs. But when I tell you about the weight that I have carried, and shame, embarrassment, feeling different, yet always from the time can remember, my mother always put me in dresses. She never gave me a inferiority complex. She never had me to feel ashamed of the scars that I carry. Doesn't matter. It goes back to the name thing, right? I felt different. I knew I was different. I knew that if you saw me in a pair of shorts or a short dress or a dress or whatever, and you looked, and it's always children that'll tell you the truth. They're the honest ones, right? And they look. I remember teaching Sunday school years ago, and I taught kindergartners, 5, 6-year-olds, and they're the most honest, right? And I can remember a little kid saying to me, "Well, what happened to your leg?" And then I would have to share the story. But there was something inside of me that was a reminder of how different I was. And I don't know that it was different in a good way, because, it's just different. I don't walk through this world hoping that people will look at me because of something different about me, right? I'm just living my life and want to be left alone in peace. But last year, a dear, dear friend of mine said to me, she was shocked, first of all, that I had this level of insecurity around these scars that I've had, like I said, since I was 2 years old. So I'm carrying them for 60 years. And she said, "What? I wouldn't tell anybody anything. I wouldn't say anything about it. Like, if someone asked, yes, you can tell them the story. This is no fault of my own that my house caught on fire and that I was burned to so severely, 2nd and 3rd degree burns on my legs, my arm. And I had to have a skin graft and all of that." But she was like, "You're beautiful. You are powerful. You are all the things," the positive words she used. And for some reason, it resonated with me. It changed me. It changed me in the most positive. And I've told her this, and I've thanked her so much for that. And I can say, when I moved here to my new place and I started taking swim lessons and taking swimming and wearing a bathing suit and just jumping in the pool and being comfortable with myself, and occasionally a person will ask, what happened. But 95% of the time, I feel like everybody else. I'm just walking through this world with yes, I have scars, and my scars do not define me. And I just wanted to share and ask you, if you look back over your life, have you had those times or those thoughts where you thought, "Man, I am not enough. I'm different. I am not feeling worthy of whatever." I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. When I was Rhonda, I felt like I was that expression, like imposter. I was an imposter. I was not my true, authentic self. And then walking around with these scars, but feeling like people were judging me or thinking that my body was not as pretty And one of the people, Oprah, I've been following Oprah for as long as Oprah. I heard her name and she was on television and became popular. And I see her today, 72 years old, whatever she's doing to lose the weight, and I feel a little sad because I don't know if 2 years ago Oprah was happy with herself or today's Oprah is happy with herself. I liken it to my feelings about walking through the world with burn scars on my body. Until last year, I was not feeling 100% confident, comfortable, happy with who I am. But last year, baby, and it came about because I kept thinking, what if this is it? What if, again, at this big age, now 63 years old, if these are my last days on this earth, do I want to be concerned with someone thinking that I am less than because I was burned in a fire and I don't look like other people? It goes right in line with being a black woman, being a woman. The expression, and I think it was W.E.B. Du Bois who said, well, I may be quoting this wrong, but what is it like to be a problem, right? And all my life I've tried to be that good girl. I've tried to be a good person. And in 2026, I am not trying, I am that person. Does that make sense? And that's what I encourage you to do. Go from trying to be the best that you can be, white knuckling it, trying to squeeze into, I've worked jobs and gone into rooms that I didn't think I could have, that I was worthy to be in. No more of that. Wherever I am, the Bible says, wherever my foot shall, I remember when I first learned that scripture, wherever my foot shall trod, that's where I will be blessed. I will be blessed and I will be a blessing. So this YouTube thing is a part of my journey, a part of my life. When I moved to New Jersey, the first thing I did, I went back to school and I took computer classes. I took tech classes. And being on YouTube now is kind of a full circle moment for me. I'm using my tech skills to learn some new things, learn about AI, learn about YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and those kinds of things, while all the while walking in my new self, my new name, my birth name, walking in the fullness of what my body looks like and who I am, and accepting and loving it. And I encourage you to do the same. I'm in a program with Arlan Hamilton called Your First 5K. And I'm going to drop a link in the description of this video, because I have been in a lot of programs. I have learned a lot of things, and I follow a lot of creators, but Arlan Hamilton has me so excited about what I can do at my age, all the while keeping my own personal mission of being a good person and not hurting people at the center of who I am. And I know that AI, in some ways, there are ways in that the data centers are harming our environment. I've heard that. And two things can be true at the same time. This can be a platform and a way for me to get my message out, leave my legacy for my kids, my grandkid, my grandson, and yeah, continue to feel good about myself. All right. This video is a little longer than normal, but I hope you stuck with me and that you can go back, sit, and think about what are some of the things that happened in your life that caused you to pivot and shift to a better you? Because those two things, me going by my legal name as well as me accepting my body for the way it is, changed my life, and all for the better. I'll see you next week. Week number 11 coming soon. Bye.